America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, welcome guests and attendees for our March 3rd, 2022 LDC board meeting. Call the meeting to order. Privilege of the floor, if there are any. Steve's representing Justin today?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So
Morning, Steve.
we have no guests. All right, so let's move to our minutes, which are on page 3. Everybody's received our packet and hopefully reviewed the minutes. And if so, we have a motion to accept them.
So moved. Second.
First and a second, any discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. Treasurer's report on page 6. Paul sent in a written report. Paul, you're on mute. I don't know if you wanted to just have one of us kind of read through the report, or are you in a position where you can kind of do that?
Well, I think you hear me. I think we should read the report.
Okay. Yeah, it's a little weak. We can hear you, but it's a little weak. So page 6 of the packet, Paul sent through an email Monday, and just going through and indicating that he's again spoken with Lyle. We're still trying to go through changing our fiscal year, which is about as easy as passing an amendment to the Constitution, apparently.
It is.
So Paul reviewed the expenses and revenues, and we are at on the LDC. We're for current month we're 15,000 to a surplus. For year to date is almost 40,000 surplus. He did indicate that the ag and business development programs are in line with budget projections on a month-over-month basis. Total liabilities and capital are about 100,000 greater than previous month. About 30,000 previous month. And all loans are current. LCO Destiny is again 30 days.
They're
but it's
current.
caught up. Okay, so that's just a timing issue, which is usually.
Payment came in after this.
There we go. So all loans are current. And I think, unless there was something I didn't cover, Paul, that's what generally you wrote in your email.
That's pretty much everything.
All right. So with that, is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report, please? Someone, Rob Aiken, a second, please.
Second.
Bill Johnson. Okay, any discussion? All right, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
None opposed? Okay. The minutes, the treasurer's report are accepted. Council reports. Ag, Mr. J.
Okay.
There are no committee reports, I'm assuming, because there wasn't anything on the agenda. Okay, so council reports, Mr.
Well,
J.
Cool, I wasn't expecting to be so soon, so.
We're not good, but we're quick.
All right, okay, well, updates, our agricultural conference is Friday, April 8th. We've been working on that for quite a while, but unfortunately, late last week, I had one of my primary speakers cancel out. So now I'm in panic mode to replace that. Replace that person. I am talking with another individual who could potentially deliver somewhat the same message. And I should be hearing today or tomorrow. I really need to hear today or tomorrow because my plans were this week to get the marketing materials out to say, hey, come to our conference. So I really need to get that lined up. Let's see, Dairy Parade is June 3rd. We're beginning the planning process for that. A little bit of a change. Well, it's not really a change, but the Dairy Promotion Board is canceled. The Dairy Festival that was always tied in. That puts a little bit more pressure on us to deliver, like we did last year, an overall dairy event for Dairy Month in the month of June. So I'm utilizing the Dairy Parade plus the Agricultural Day at the Watertown Rapids to help deliver that overall messaging. So And it seems to be going very well in putting those pieces together. Ag workforce development, really cool thing happened recently. Jefferson Community College, their residence hall director called me up and was looking for opportunities for the residence hall students to find work, to fill some of their gaps and put some money in their pocket. And so I've been working with, I've been trying to find some opportunities, and yesterday, one of our dairy processors expressed a strong interest in any availability of students that they have. So I've put the two together, and hopefully that will work. You know, it's still a lot has to be discussed between them, but it just worked out really well. Plus, I'm exploring right now, at least one of their students has a CDL, and CDLs are huge demand. So I've never heard of a CDLE. Has anybody ever heard of a CDLE license?
Is that like a library?
I don't know. It's that's what the residence hall instructor told me this person had. I've got to get a clarification today because, you know, in agriculture and manufacturing and everywhere, those CDL drivers are in huge demand. So we're going to have everybody's going to check it. Go ahead, I don't mind, because I haven't had a chance to yet. So anyway, it's just a neat little thing, and it's one of those little things that, you know, if we don't tell you about once in a while, you never know all of the different things that go on behind the scenes, besides the major stuff that we're always doing. CWT Farms, the egg hatchery, we believe they will hear soon from Empire State Development on their funding, and they need to, because of the way inflation's going right now, their project costs are going up quickly. So they're very nervous about the way inflation is hitting their project. Talking with John Pierce, he's still very positive, very, wants to see it happen here. But the longer it goes, the more potential that they would go someplace else. So we're monitoring that situation. The Food Resiliency Grants Program, we just launched those grants here, thanks to Jefferson County Board of Legislators and this board. We just launched that grant program 2 weeks ago. I think it was 2 weeks ago. And we already have 6 applications. None of them from my meat processors yet. So tomorrow and today, they're getting phone calls from me to say, come on, guys, this program's out there to help you. And actually, I found out last night, and I don't know if you know of this, Ed, there's another small custom processor, Justin Wise. I was not aware of him.
I discovered it last week.
Yeah, so
From Teresa.
he's on my agenda for today to
Brand
call.
new facility.
Yeah, built it himself. So I'll be talking to him today if he'll answer the phone. So, but anyway, so we'll be reaching out on that. A couple other things. I'm going to start doing some educational programming through our podcast, our new podcast, and through our column in Northern New York Business Magazine to educate the public on the Ag and Markets law that protects farm animals from attack from people's pets. That is a real problem in Jefferson County right now. There is actually a legal case right now that we're very concerned about. It has been a historical problem, but we're seeing a ramp up. And it's time to educate the public and everybody that there are laws through Ag and Markets that protect farm animals from attack from domestic pets. So really concerned about it. Everybody has probably heard the New York State Farm Labor Wage Commission issued a ruling on moving the overtime threshold from 60 hours down to 40 hours over the next 10 years. Very concerned about that and its impact on agriculture. We already had an impact when they changed it to 60 hours. Now to go down to 40 hours over the next 10 years is going to be very concerning.
Jay, it's my understanding though, two things I've discovered. One, all the rest of the industries have been on a 40-hour overtime right along. So we're the only ones, agriculture is the only one that's been exempted and still is at that 60.
But there's a good reason for that.
Oh, definitely, definitely. But it's not like we've got anybody else helping us in this situation
Yeah.
outside of agriculture. You
Yeah.
know, the hotels, the motels, the restaurants, they've already had to deal with the 40.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. The other thing I discovered too is the 10-year phase in. It's going to take 10 years to get through that. It's kind of like the minimum wage. So right now the threshold has been lowered. The immediate impact is we no longer have a 60-hour threshold. We have what, a 58?
Well, that doesn't start until 2024
Right. So we actually got 2 years that,
before we go down to 56 hours.
and then it's lowering at 4 hours. And I mean, to me, that makes it a little easier to try and work around, knowing you've got that lead time and it's gradual.
When you add that on top of the minimum wage increases, you're looking at increasing farm expenses by 42%.
For labor.
When they do not control the price of the product they sell. That's the concern. And I don't mean to be so.
No. Well, it plays into the new break-even point for milk now. Everybody's excited. The price of milk has gone from $16, $18 to $22, $23. Some guys are hitting $24 a hundredweight. The financial institutions are projecting this year the new break-even point for producing 100 pounds of milk is $23 with fuel and labor. So it's like, even though there seems to be a real uptick in the pay price, which is helping the dairy industry, it's going to be completely swallowed up in the next 9, 10, 12 months.
Yeah. And that's at today's figures. And we don't know what inflation, we don't know what this conflict in Europe will do to fuel prices and other input prices. So it is very, very concerning. Hopefully we'll see some relief veil pop and give us some help through this. And then last but not least, the podcast is up and running, as I said. Hope that you might have tuned in to at least one of the shows. It's available on our website, agricultureevents.com. The podcast is out on all of the major podcast sites. We've had some really great discussions on the Ukrainian conflict, its impact on agriculture, some local issues. Al Waltz and Ron Robbins have been co-hosting with me for most of the shows. It's been a lot of fun. We do plan on talking about some non-ag, rural economy type issues too. So we're looking forward to that. But yeah, check it out, Jay Madison's Rural America, a production of Jefferson County Economic Development. So
those are hard to search sometimes. So, I enjoy listening to podcasts by my platforms I go to search.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you don't have the right criteria to search, you're never going to find it.
Yeah.
So I can go to the website and get the right criteria and then just.
I've got up on the Agriculture Events website under Ag Media, and I just haven't had the time to make it more obvious. But under Ag Media, you'll find the podcast link.
All right.
So, and there's also a Facebook page under that title, Jay Madison's Rural America.
Marshall's gonna put it on our, I'm gonna put it on our page as soon as this meeting is done. I can't believe I haven't done that yet.
Okay.
So I'll have a link to it.
He didn't even complain.
Great. And people subscribe to it and you probably
You can
track those metrics and.
Yeah, it's so early, 2 weeks, so our numbers are still low. But I'm trying to figure out how to ramp that up. I'm putting it out there all over the place.
Facebook shares helps.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Watertown Daily Times called. They came in and did a feature interview, Chris Brock. We haven't seen it yet, but it's about the podcast. So once that hits, I think that will help significantly, but they haven't run it yet. So
Thanks, Jay.
thank you.
Jake, just a quick heads up, on Monday of this week, USDA, this came across the alert from on my email, USDA announced another round of funding from the American Recovery Act, some of the monies that weren't used. The USDA's got $157 million
For the meat processing?
for helping, it's grants, it's for specifically for improving our food security, food viability at local food levels. So it's perfect for any of the meat processing
Yeah.
projects, and there's some other things. Food Hub, I think, it's a perfect candidate for that. They're splitting it up over 2 years, so half of that, I mean, that's $60 million or so. You push that through 50 states, I mean, assume that maybe $1 million for New York State.
Yeah.
We should be in a position to help leverage, I think. That's a perfect match to help the county. It'll help us in our scoring.
Yeah.
I think we should, I'd suggest we look into it.
Yeah, I put in a phone call to Cooperative Extension. I've invited them to sit
So
down.
you saw that too?
Yes,
Okay.
and we're gonna be discussing that. And they already shared it out to the producers. I would have preferred if we could have met first and
Yeah.
strategized before it went out. But yeah, definitely. It's a good opportunity.
And we got,
Sorry.
we have 2 projects that would kind of fit it.
Yeah, well, maybe 3 now, so. All right, thank you.
All right, Dave, manufacturing. Oh, what do you got?
Craig is really good.
I missed
Manufacturing.
all that. You're gonna say it all again.
So we're moving ahead. As I think we mentioned before, we're working with
So
Lewis
no-
County to host a joint Jefferson Lewis
Marshall.
Manufacturers Forum. That's good. To host a joint Jefferson Lewis Manufacturers Forum. I think we've got about 20 people signed up so far. So we got, I haven't got a copy of the list yet because Lewis County doing registrations for us. So we're looking at that as kind of a chance to bring our manufacturers together along with educators and others, kind of talk about what's needed, particularly probably workforce, and just kind of brainstorm on a few ideas. So
Is that open to anyone?
yes, yeah. And that's scheduled for the 24th, the morning of the 24th at the Dock Street in Carthage.
Oh, cool. What a great place to have it.
So we'll have a light breakfast and forum. So we're starting like 8:30, so people start showing up at 8 o'clock.
Anything else manufacturing?
Oh, and just, otherwise, I think you probably saw the article yesterday about Air Brake. You know, we've been in conversations with them, not a lot of details yet, but they have, they have a brake disc manufacturing going on at the North Brems facility in Germany that's at capacity. So they're looking at moving some of that production here to the US to serve the North American market.
They have the space.
Yep.
Marketing.
I had my computer locked up, so I had to write my report on it.
There you go.
I like that. Hold that up for the world to see.
Super quickly, we went to Albany. Dave, Jay, and I did on Monday. Heard the governor speak. Heard a couple of other very interesting speakers. Listened to some interesting breakouts on workforce, agriculture, marketing. That was actually a very well done event, and the governor was sort of a surprise speaker. Jay's podcast, we've been having celebrities walk through the hallways, come to do his podcast. I'm using the term celebrity pretty loosely.
Trying to remember.
And so Mike Lawrenson from Easy Stack called me last week. I was on vacation, although it wasn't much of a vacation. And he wants to spread the positive. They've got a lot of great stuff going on out there, and of course, I immediately was like, "You should come in and do the podcast." And then we're also going to do a piece on some of the stuff that they have going on. So it's pretty great. I was also going to mention that manufacturing meeting which you covered, and I can't think of anything else. But again, I wasn't able to access my thing, but
I could fit him in tomorrow, by the way.
I will mention that. Oh, he has to come in from Canada, so I don't know how tricky that is
Do
right
it over
now.
the phone.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah.
What was the event on Monday? What was that?
The New York State Economic Development Council, their annual conference in January. So.
All right.
That it?
Yep.
We have nothing listed for unfinished business, council, or new business, so unless a board member has something to fit in one of those categories, we can skip to adjournment.
I'll just mention real quickly under unfinished business that we're expecting the agreement from the county sometime soon for the ARPA funds.
Okay.
I've drafted, Justin gave us some input, I finalized a contract with the Community Action Planning Council and the daycare aspect of it. We'll get that to you for the next meeting, so we can have both the county contract and that one in place.
All right. Does anyone else have anything that fit in those three categories? Or germane to this meeting? No. Okay, well, we'll skip to adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Rob, second?
Second.
Bill, second. Okay, all in favor, aye?
Hey.
Aye. Okay, the meeting stands adjourned. We'll move to our IDA meeting, March 3rd, 2022. Meeting has been called to order. We've already done our pledge. We do have a couple of guests, so is there a privilege of the floor? I guess technically Craig, and I don't know John.
John is with Oya for discussion on the.
Okay, he's kind of a guest, so,
Yep.
but, so if Craig or he just left, there's, okay. If there's any public that has any, privilege of the floor, you're hearing later, so you get a chance to speak during your hearing too, John. No, okay. Let's do the minutes and then we can skip to building and ground. Get, Kent moving along. So the minutes are on page 3. And if you've received them and have no changes to them, I would ask for a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Make the motion.
Bill, a second, please.
I'll second.
Second, Lisa.
Okay, we got 2 seconds. You can choose, Peg. All in favor or discussion on the minutes? Okay, no discussion. All in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries, the minutes are approved. Paul, we're gonna skip the report quick so we can fit in building and grounds and get Ken off the call, if that's okay. So just, we'll reorder things, we'll move building and grounds so Kent doesn't have to stay around for other things. Give us an update on building and grounds, please, Kent.
Okay, as of today, they're doing a remediation of the electrical room, and that's the last thing, hopefully, for the project will be completed, I hope. Not sure if Dave's got some updates.
Yeah, we're hoping that'll be done the end of this week, not the end of this week, first part of next week.
Anything else on building and grounds?
Outside of that, I think, I talked to Dave this morning, the Y is out for bid now for the project, and we're just waiting for the bids to come in, so outside of that, we're just waiting on the Y, on the additional space.
All right.
Yeah.
Any board members or guests have questions on the
So final
remediation project, et cetera?
remediation in the electric room. We came in,
We should
No
still
more
be within-
allocation.
Yeah, we should still be within our
We
initial,
got
yeah.
like 249 left over according to the balance sheet.
240.
We haven't paid all the bills yet,
Yeah, so
so.
it's gonna be close, but we should be good.
Dave's gonna be passing the jar for quarters and nickels. I guarantee it. It's my projection. We're gonna be at 251. We need $2,000. It'll be some minuscule thing. Any other questions from the board on building and grounds? Otherwise, we could.
Just following up on Kent's note, yeah, so the Y's been, we were in a meeting Tuesday for most of the afternoon, kind of going over final questions on their changes, so they are sending this out to bid right away, so they can hopefully get those bids back on April 11th and see what the final budget looks like at that point in time.
Okay.
And there's still a 10-day window, is that?
So I understand, yeah.
and they've rolled out their figure, the 27th, right? Is that?
Well, that's what they're estimating right now. I mean, we'll see the final number when it comes on the 11th.
So that's a movable target with them, yeah.
Well, they changed their scope of work.
They've basically been, it had got to what they thought was going to be about 30 million. They've been working steadily to bring that cost down to 27.5.
Yeah.
So that's their best guess estimate based on the experience of Purcell and the BCA and the other subcontractors speaking and estimating, but they'll have to go get a final bid based on this final design that they've come through. And the approach they're taking is there'll be a lot of what they call add-on options, so in case they are within, under budget, they can add those things on, or they've also got prepared deducts, so that if it comes in over things they can take out to save.
All right.
You
Anything
still
else for Ken?
scheduled to come to the county to do a
Yeah,
presentation
yeah.
on what our
Ways and means, I mean, sorry, finance.
Finance.
Yeah.
Anything else for Kent in building and grounds?
No.
Okay. Thanks, Kent. We're gonna just get back to the order of the agenda. You're free to stay, free to go, whatever your choice is. Have a good day regardless. So we'll go back to the treasurer's report. Paul, if you wish, I can again read your email. It's your choice.
That's fine. I think you should. My only other comment is going to be about the remediation budget, but Dave's already addressed that.
Yeah, okay, I'll point it out when we get to it, so it's just in the minutes on what page it is and et cetera. So again, Paul sent in a written report. I'm gonna hit the highlights of it. The revenues are considerably down, from prior months and, from normal actually. And the expenses are in check as well. So that's very good. We're spending much less than budgeted. We earned less last month than typical, just some interest fees and things of that nature. We are still, well, right now we're at a break even, or about $1,600 to the positive year to date. The liabilities and capital are down about 500,000 from the prior month, mostly due to a drop in the savings account because I'm guessing that's expenses on the remediation project.
Remediation goes into a work in process.
Okay.
It's
So
not expense.
we had like a big drop. It was like quite a big number coming out of the savings account, at least according to the balance sheet from the prior month. It was, I noticed it as well. Well, when you take checking savings, it was about a $900,000 drop. I think most of it was on savings.
We had a major payment.
Okay.
On the remediation.
It was, okay.
It was that, yeah.
I knew we paid like a $500,000 invoice. Figured it was something to do with the
Right, and the
remediation.
electric was particularly high, and I don't know if we got maybe portion some of that.
Okay.
Yeah,
remediation,
we
because-
did,
Because those machines, those
Two
scare
payments
fires,
that
use
listed on.
a huge amount of electricity.
So Paul's also pointed out when we look at the balance sheet of the 146 Arsenal on its own, the expenses are dropping. We shift some of those expenses to the white. I asked Paul a question, and he cleared it up with Lyle. I was curious about page 14 and 15, some receivables, and those were cleared up. They're not necessarily past due, they're just not due yet. It was confusing to me when I looked at
Not
it.
due yet, and the one that appears to be past due, 24,000, whatever.
Yeah.
I put that on there just so we don't forget.
No, and that's fair. When I looked at it, I didn't catch it last month, but I'm like, why is this so like over 90? I'm like, oh, it's not due yet.
Not
Okay.
really.
So in case anyone else observed that, page 14 and 15, there's 3 accounts that appear to be past due, none of which are actually past due. Well, one was paid, I believe Paul said, and the other 2 are not due yet. The micro loan fund, there are so that's page 17. Again, we have kind of a trio of delinquent, either 1 month or 3 months. We have one in default, which we disclosed in the prior month that we've sent the default letters to property.
Yes, we've done that. We're trying to work with a particular customer.
Okay.
We don't, we're not here to put anyone out of business.
No, I get it.
And,
We're just here to play by the rules we agreed
Yes.
on.
Yeah.
That's what contracts are for. So with regards to where we are, if you take the one that we have a default letter and the one that's 3 times past due, we're still under our allocation for bad debt. I mean, it's unfortunately the business very sterile way of looking at it. So we've allocated 31,000 of write-offs. We're only at 23,000 at risk if all of those loans were to default. So at least it's within our balance sheet to absorb that. And as Lyle said, we're not here to put anyone out of business or, question their hardship, just to play by the rules or rewrite the rules if the board consents so. Everything else was very good on the balance sheet. Page 21 through 24 are the work in progress statements for the Arsenal Street project, giving us kind of an accounting of what we have left over. And I guess I remembered my number wrong. So the cover page says there's about, that's the total project, right? There's about 400,000 left. Page 21 is the consolidation of all accounts.
That's correct.
Okay, yeah, so there's about 400,000 left from what we had approved to spend. We're not done yet, but as Dave said, we'll probably be very close to not having to ask the board for more money. Paul, did I, number one, cover everything? And number two, do you have additional comments?
I have no additional comments.
Okay. With that, can we have a motion to accept Paul's treasurer's report?
So moved.
Bill, a second, please.
Second.
Okay, Ed, any discussion? Great. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
None opposed? Okay, the treasurer's report is accepted. We've already done building and grounds, so alternative energy. Paul, it's you again. We did have a meeting. I don't know if there's much more to state than what's in the report.
The only thing I would add to the report is that Dave is working on setting up a meeting with taxing jurisdictions over the convergent solar project in Chanel. Hopefully that happens in the very near future, and working towards our first meeting with a large scale, utility scale solar project. It says Berlin's complete.
Okay.
Or whether or not that's have a date chosen to begin those discussions.
Yeah, look, I'm looking to find out, I think the convergent meeting, we're gonna try to do, Monday afternoon, next Monday at 2, just gotta confirm one more. And then, I've spoken with EDF Renewables and Tracy Project, asked them to fill out a pilot application so we can start discussions with them. I'll try to set up a meeting. I'll do an email to kind of find out try to set up an energy committee meeting here in the next couple of weeks.
When you convene the meeting with Convergent, are you doing it under the alternative energy subcommittee or just like staff in the?
We're kind of doing the staff and, is it more discussed?
Yes, you're just getting the taxing jurisdictions
Yes, yeah.
together. Okay. All right. Paul, anything else to add?
Just one thing, Dave. You had a discussion with Attorney South Jefferson about their filing of their exemption status before exemption.
Oh, yes, yes. I spoke to the school superintendent, not the attorney directly, but I asked them to check, Paul had noted that when you look at the 47 list on the state website, South Jefferson is opted out of 47 for the second column, which is like battery storage and fuel cell. But it did not show them as being opted out for renewable projects in general, which is kind of odd. Usually you're going to opt out of the first column and then maybe the second column as well. So I pointed it out to them. They checked into it and it wasn't error on the state side. They have apparently opted out of 47. So that kind of throws into question the whole agreement that EDF has with, AES has with the village at this point. So we're waiting to hear back.
All right. I am totally drawing a blank. Do we need to accept committee reports? Take board approval. I forgot.
No.
I just have a complete blank on that right now.
Join the club.
Okay.
The project at the West is creating, yes, it's on our list of field of dreams. It's not a construction.
Did you get that?
Did you say not under construction?
Yeah, I think he said not under. Okay. Okay.
It is not a
Right,
construction.
here.
Very good. Okay, thanks, Paul. Moving along to our loan review committee, I'll read the report. I was there, and I'm the only one present from that committee. Page 27 of our packet. Later in our meeting, we discussed 2 applications to move them to the full board for the initial project resolution. They're later on under the council. We just discovered some puts and takes with some numbers. We went through some things, we had discussions, it was pretty much the first time we had to go through that new model and making sure all the numbers made sense. And at least the loan review committee, with some other board members' help, believe what we've got is what we've got. And Justin was on, and you know, it'll all work itself out when the final numbers come to roost, when you get all of the final data. This initial project resolution is just the first step to move things along. It's our fair estimation of what the abatement will look like and things of that nature, and the real numbers will be determined by council, predominantly in the taxing jurisdictions. So with that, we had two projects, Oya Ellisburg, Oya Lane Road. Again, both resolutions were moved to the full board. Most of the discussion was just about numbers that were in the model and where they came from and are they right. And so what we have in our packets today are the corrected values, and they're all very robust, and they are the first time that we're using this new model as a milestone of looking at what the abated taxation is. And they're quite different than what we've done in the past, but frankly, the projects haven't changed, the evaluation technique has. That's all that's different. It's funny how you can just make math different.
There's one outstanding issue that we haven't resolved, and that is the assessed value of the land under the project.
Yes.
And where I'm still using some averages
Yeah.
to do these calculations.
And we discussed that a little bit, Paul, and you came up with an idea of how to use a fair assessment. But again, I guess it's gonna be up to the taxing jurisdiction and council to agree, is fair correct?
Well, the assessor makes the final decision, and we did get a final assessment on one project just this week. And he assessed the land at $10,625 per acre.
Okay.
And that sort of ties in with the methodology that Paul and I were discussing last week, so.
At least you didn't have an outlier.
Right, I think our average calculation is probably way off. And we may have to talk about adjusting it to something of standard assessed value or some methodology, but that's for future.
Okay.
What's, and I'm a little confused from, in the report, the issue with CBA showing the nominal value, property tax exemption, and then the agent, it's like.
The cost benefit analysis, the way the land value that Lyle was just talking about showed that, if I'm saying this right, you're gonna pay 150 to save 87.
Right.
And that's a bad investment.
Well, it's part of it.
If the numbers are correct.
Talking to the company that does the cost benefit analysis model, that nominal value is supposedly the value in year 15, so the value of money is lower at that point in time, at the end of the pilot.
Yeah.
They use a 2% discount rate.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there were some discussions about was it per acre or was it per megawatt? There was I mean, we spent a long time rooting through numbers just because it was the first time of using this new model. And we still have to work the land out, but the land is the one thing, it is what it is. The assessor says it's $5,000 an acre or $50,000 an acre, and you know what? There's a grievance process, and the applicant, like me as a taxpayer, can just follow that grievance process. Our part is correct. It's the land that's a little cockeyed.
Yeah, and we need to do this calculation to get a
Cost benefit.
feel for, well, the cost benefit, but we need to get a feel for what tax monies will be distributed to the various taxing jurisdictions, because they have to approve this. We also need to do it to advise the developer. Maybe you don't want a pilot. Maybe you take the assessed value and pay full taxes. And so it's, I think we're reasonably close. Paul is working with a group of the assessors too, on developing some of these things. So, but right now, I think it's what we have, and I believe applied consistently, it will show trends.
Yeah, and this pointed out very clearly. When you do a cost of benefit, this is the divisor.
Yep.
It's a really small number, so that's the property tax. this is the investment, so you get like unbelievably large
Yeah.
cost benefit analysis ratios.
Yeah.
So
But
that's what we're trying to winnow through is, numbers are numbers, right? They change something here, changes everything in there, but, so we have a plan, for moving forward and,
But I can see where that's gonna play into like, the amount of solar that's gonna start coming to the North Country is mind-boggling, from my perspective. And you mentioned in this project, particularly the $10,000 an acre assessed value.
Yes.
There's other places where these developers are gonna be able to go, and that assessed value for that type of land, maybe not that particular area, but in other areas where that value is gonna be closer to $1,500 an acre.
And conversely, probably somewhere it's $20,000.
Right.
but isn't the 10 after improvement? That's not, that's the 10,000 after it's been improved.
Yes, that's 10,000.
So Ed is thinking farmland unimproved. I agree with
Right.
you. But if you go buy $5,000 or $6,000 an acre, let's say that's the going rate, this is actually making the improvement on it. So if you go buy a building lot and don't have a house, and then put a house on it, you pay more per acre after it's been developed. So that's what this 10,000 is. It's really not as big of a jump as you think
Okay.
versus raw farmland or raw wood lots or hay lots or whatever.
Got it.
So I mean, it is double, but it's developed.
Yeah.
So think of it as a lot with a home versus a lot without a home.
Well, that'll standardize.
And that's what the state's trying to do is develop some technique where there is some microscope to standardize. We just have a bunch of different numbers that don't make sense initially because we're used to one method and now we have a totally different method to evaluate. But again, the project cost didn't change. I mean, it's still X dollars per megawatt and it's still, a very robust investment for the county and the local development areas. So, anything else for a loan review?
Rob, if I might.
Go ahead.
This land value is being struggled with across the state on these projects, and everyone's trying to come up with a rationale. The state, in the creation of this model, I would say, punted on having to come up with a valuation methodology. So the way the local assessors are looking at it, they're looking at more of an income approach. Okay, this guy is taking X number of dollars per acre. What does that mean for that increase? That's how they're looking at it.
Okay, thank you.
Got it.
I have no unfinished business listed. Is there any from the board? As far,
I'll just mention, I think, gave you a brief update on Conval. They're proceeding with the site plan review of the town council plan board. I had a meeting with them tonight. Feel like they're on track. We'll plan on going next month to do a lot line adjustment to our parcel.
I saw that.
To merge some of the smaller parcels together and move ahead.
Okay. When we assemble those lots, is that gonna be like a 239 review? We gotta go through the county and everything? When we assemble,
the whole
we're gonna
site-
reassemble the lot, right? Not disassemble?
We've already have the
I'm
original
thinking-
subdivision already went to 239 in the county.
But I'm saying there's 5 separate lots. We're gonna reassemble them now?
Yeah, they're gonna merge into one lot.
Okay.
Because of the size of Conval facility,
But
but,
we can avoid 239.
well, I think it's gonna be part of the overall, the whole thing from the planning board is gonna be sending site plan for 239 and review
Okay.
anyway, so the project.
I know it's not a big deal to
Yeah.
reassemble a lot, because they're all
Right.
conforming
Yeah.
lots anyway.
Yes, yeah.
Okay, so that's just a standard, not a big deal.
Yeah, lot line adjustment by itself is not going to 239.
New business, Dave, if you, or Marshall, whoever wants to take the lead, if you can kind of just couch this for us and we can kind of walk through it. Metalcraft Marine site plan approval, the board's been instructed about some minor, buildings being put on their facility. And Dave, I could read the email as well, but if you have something
Sure.
besides what's in the email.
So they're going to the planning board. In fact, they probably think we'll be going for final approval this next month down to Watertown Planning Board. But in compliance with the covenants, that projects we need to review the building. For
And this is
design
the old,
elevations.
this is the old park, right? Not
Yep,
the
this is
new
the old park, yep.
Okay.
So, yep. although the guidelines are very similar. So I've got the drawing there. This is the building. You can see it from 81. It's kind of a blue roof. It's actually Easy Stack was there for a bit. It used to be J was there at one point, but it's right before you get down to Henderson Manufacturing. But essentially, they're adding two 20 by 40 foot buildings at the rear of the lot to be used for storage and for some manufacturing activity. The buildings are going to be similar in structure to the current one. Overhead doors. They meet all the setback requirements and elevation, so I think it's fine. We just need the board's approval.
And I guess they're backing up to really the interstate right away, and their neighbors, they meet all of the setback requirements in every direction. And the buildings are actually quite inconsequential relative to the existing structure.
They do. And I sent, as you know, I sent an update to the corporate park tenants, just an overall update what's going on with the park, turn lane. And then I sent another mailing to all those in the old park, party to those covenants with these plans.
Right.
And I got like 3 responses all saying it's fine with us, so.
All right, so
He's gonna be.
Nobody's opposed it.
what you're asking the board to do is essentially approve the plot plan.
Basically, yeah,
setbacks.
and just confirming that the project complies with.
So it's the use, the location, and not the appearance? Because I know the new one had something to do with appearance.
Yeah, I think it's just more that
Okay.
yeah,
I get very confused
I would
between the
just
old
keep
and the
it
new
that
covenants.
the proposed site plan complies.
Okay,
with
so
the covenants.
we're approving location
This-
and that it's an applicable use,
Yeah.
which is, the town of Watertown would actually call you out on that if it weren't as such. Is that understood, Lisa and Paul? Were you able to capture all of that, and have you looked at the plot plan and understand the use?
Yes,
I don't have a problem.
Okay.
yeah, same here.
Okay, I just want to make sure, because we're going to ask for an affirmative, so I just want to get on the record that everybody's looked at the data. So with that,
Are these buildings going to be just cold storage, or are they gonna be finished?
They're gonna be metal sided buildings. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna be heated. I don't think so. But
Yeah,
it's
it's
storage
far
and
away.
some
Cold
manufacturing,
storage, yeah.
yeah.
right. So we got page 29 through 32. We have Metalcraft looking for us to, the old covenants, the 1981 covenants, they would like to place 2 20 by 40 each structures that meet all of the setback, both rear and side yard, and it's an applicable use is allowed within the covenants. So if I have a motion to accept, or somebody can make a motion to allow this buildings to be placed, I would ask the board members to make that motion.
I'll move it.
Okay, Ed, first, second, please.
I'll second it.
Paul Warnick, second. Okay, any further discussion or any clarity on what we're actually voting on? Okay, so no discussion. So we are voting on the motion to allow 2 20 by 40 structures placed in the location shown on page 30 of our board packet. Okay, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, tell Metalcraft to put shovels in the ground. After they get all the permits from the other agencies that care, which I don't know how many there are. There seem to be lots of agencies. I think we're now coming up to Steve. It's under the council section, and we have, is Mariana also from Oya?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
And John, both.
Okay, I don't know Mariana and John, I mean, it's, if you have anything you want to say now, we could have had it done under the privilege of the floor, but we're gonna go through your package. If there's anything you need to draw attention to, this is a great time to do that.
I don't think there's anything outside of the application that we need to go through now.
Okay.
Certainly, if there are any questions, we're happy to answer.
Okay, yeah, thank you, okay. Steve, do you have anything to add into this? I mean, I can read the resolution, this is pretty rote business for us. I don't know if you have anything to add in.
No, as you said, this, these 2 resolutions basically just our standard initial project resolution where we're gonna accept the application, authorize scheduling of a public hearing and so forth. So pretty standard.
Okay, thank you. So it's on page 33 of our packet, and then the cost of benefit analysis is on page 41. We've had some discussion on this prior, and the resolution on page 33 is resolution number 03.03.2022.01. It is a resolution of Jefferson County Industrial Development Agency accepting an application submitted by Oya Ellisburg Solar LLC with respect to a certain project as described below, authorizing the scheduling and conduct of a public hearing with respect to the project, describing the forms of financial assistance being contemplated to the agency, adopting findings with respect to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, and authorizing the negotiation of certain agreements related to the project. Further down in the second whereas clause, it's just giving you the project particulars. Oya Ellisburg Solar LLC, 30 acres of real property, 13624 County Route 91, town of Ellisburg, is a list of tax parcel I won't read. And then it also is for the planning, design, construction, and operation of a 5 megawatt AC of photovoltaic solar electrical generating system. So with that, I would ask for a motion to accept this resolution, please.
I'll move it.
Ed first, a second, please.
Second.
Bill, a second. Any discussion? Okay, I believe this will roll call vote, Peggy? Okay, or did I believe wrong?
It is.
No, it is, okay. I just wasn't sure.
Rob,
Yes.
Dave is absent, John is absent, Bill,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Okay, the resolution has passed and staff will take it from here and do what they need to do to schedule all the various hearings and such. So moving to page 77 of our board packet, a very similar resolution for same applicant, different location, similar project. Resolution 03.03.2022.02, resolution of the Jefferson County Industrial Development Agency accepting an application submitted by Oil Lane Road LLC with respect to a certain project as described below, authorizing the scheduling and conduct of a public hearing with respect to the project, describing the forms of financial assistance being contemplated by the agency, adopting findings with respect to the State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQR, and authorizing the negotiation of certain agreements related to the project. Again, in the second whereas clause, Oil Lane Road LLC is better described as 20 acres of real property located at 22106 Lane Road in the town of Amelia. There's a tax parcel ID number I'm not going to read, and it is for the planning, design, construction, and operation of a 3.1 megawatt AC photovoltaic solar electrical generating system. So again, I ask the board to make a motion to accept this resolution.
Make the motion.
Bill first, second.
I'll second.
Second, Lisa.
You can choose, Peg. And any discussion? Okay, with that, we move to a roll call vote, please.
Rob,
I am still yes.
Dave is absent, John is absent, Bill,
Yes.
Lisa,
Yes.
Ed,
Yes.
Paul.
Yes.
Okay,
So John Mariano will let you know when we get that hearing scheduled, so you're aware of that.
Great, thank you very much.
thank you,
Appreciate
thank
your
you.
assistance.
Yeah. So I'll ask for a motion to adjourn this meeting.
I'll just throw a footnote in
Go ahead.
on solar. Iowa, the state of Iowa is now considering state legislation that is going to curtail and in some cases prohibit solar sightings on farmland. They're not using prime farmland as their criteria, but the reference was viable farmland. So you're starting to see some pushback from the public in certain areas that are going to put some restrictions on chewing up viable farmland.
All right.
That was the state.
State of Iowa. We have a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Bill first, second please.
Second, Lisa.
Lisa, okay. All in favor, aye. Aye. Okay, none are opposed to adjourn. That's a good thing. We call order our CFDC meeting for March 3rd, 2022. The minutes are on page 3. They're from our January 6th meeting. Is there a motion to accept them as presented? Looked like Bill was going to do it.
So moved.
Okay. Oh, we don't have many choices, man. Okay, we have a first, a second, please.
I'll second.
Okay, a second. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor to accept the minutes? Aye.
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 None are opposed. Paul, with your permission, you want me to read the very brief treasurer's report?
I could give it with no transactions.
There you go.
That's my report. I move the treasurer's.
Okay, we have a move, and do we have a second?
Second.
Bill's a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Okay, none are opposed. Any other business, Dave, under this? Didn't we have a bond or something coming up, or was that sort of curtailed?
Nope.
There was a discussion at one point about either redoing a bond or issuing a bond. It was several meetings ago. Okay, well, if it's not current news, it's old news.
A couple months ago, we finalized the Samaritan bond.
Maybe I was thinking of that. I thought there was something else you said might be coming up, but again, news changes. You know, so all we care about is what's happening today.
I may have mentioned the Y might look at that as a possible.
Maybe that's what it
Yeah,
was. I don't know.
But there's nothing, definitely, they're still looking at it, yeah.
All right, so there are no committee reports, unfinished business or new business, correct? Okay, we'll move to adjournment.
So moved.
Bill first, any second?
Second.
Okay, add second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned.
Record 3 meetings in 58 minutes.
So.